The last part of our cube shading the last topic that I want to address with cube shading is is a little later in Scott Robertson's book, and what he starts to do is he starts to deal with environmental shading, like how an object looks inside of different kinds of light environments. So you can imagine if you can imagine like a cube, a building is a cube, right? Imagine a cube on a sunny morning. And or say an early afternoon where it's just like really, really nice and sunny. Cube is giving me a hard time. I think that might be my issue. It's hard to say, guys. I'm having a cube struggles. Okay, so in a really sunny situation, say coming from here, like super, super bright sun coming down, what's going to happen is there's our basic cube layout. Put a little bit of occlusion in. But notice how much sun. Now I'm going to reflect a lot of sunlight into the shadows on this. Like a ton of sun reflected into here. Okay, and see how that feels like it feels just really bright. It feels like a bright, bright morning. Okay, now let's do another one here. Now let's say in this one, it's like a foggy day. We'll say this is like a brick sitting outside on a foggy day. And so the foggy day, in the environment, there isn't as much light. So the environment starts out being kind of a middle gray. And I want to take the whole thing because it's in kind of a middle gray environment. It's never going to get to be that light because it hasn't got that kind of light going on. We're going to cast it. There's still sun, but it's behind all of this gray. So the effect of the shadow is lessened. The effect of the light is lessened, right? Now let's draw the same thing in a dark situation. I'm adding a lot less light to the environment. Right now the environment is really a lot darker. But we'll say there's a moon out there or something. Okay. It's a dark environment. It's a light value, but on the dark side of the light value, we've got a shadow. And because it's a dark environment and all the light is really low, even the light value goes way down. The shadow value is darker than the ground. There's not going to be a lot of reflected light. This value is darker than the top value, but lighter than the back value. I'm going to have to darken this up. The occlusion will be really strong. Okay, so here we're shading something. We're shading something in super bright and super bright kind of light. Here we're shading something in a foggy light, and here we're shading something sitting in the dark. And one more thing. Let's do a kind of midday object. We'll imagine the sun is kind of almost overhead. And because the sun is kind of almost overhead, I'm not going to do the ABC value thing. I'm just going to go light, medium, medium. But it's a really bright day. Nice, crisp, clean values, the way that it can feel on a really sunny afternoon. And we're going to get reflected light in here, but it's not going to take away from the value difference overall. There's still going to be a real value difference. However, there will be reflected light. Okay, so here we have four entirely separate kind of lighting conditions that you can run into.